How about page 14 and 15 of the protocols? Still, protocol number 1, quote, our triumph has been rendered easier by the fact that we have always worked upon the most sensitive chords of the human mind, upon the cash account, cupidity, that means greed or avarice, upon the insatiability for material needs of man. And each one of these human weaknesses, taken alone, is sufficient to paralyze initiative, for it hands over the will of men to the disposition of him who has bought their activities. Economic myths and the science of deceit. Oh, if you haven't figured out what the science of deceit, it's modern economics. It's taught in universities and colleges all across the land, isn't it? Okay, well, protocol number 1 at page 14 and 15 spoke of how easy it was for these people, at least, fictional or real, whichever way you want to view it, to control society because they play upon the greed and avarice. They play upon the mind, the sinful nature of man, if you will. And you know, whoever controls the fiat money machine can fund a lot of evil programs to cultivate those human weaknesses. Weaknesses like avarice, indolence or laziness, poor stewardship, lack of respect for industry, and a lack of respect for property. All of which lead to a hatred of godly character by those who feel that they're entitled to plunder the wealth of the few producers we have remaining in society. And you know, we're down to something like 16% of our population back in 1990. And I don't think it's gotten any better since then, do you? Now, those residing at the bottom of this economic food chain may be oblivious to these consequential relationships, but the godmen at the top know where they're leading us, and they know why. Let's go to protocol number 10, page 30 and 31 in my book. Quote, we shall destroy among the Goyim. There's that word again, G-O-Y-I-M. It's used derisively. We're basically referred to as cattle. And interestingly enough, as I pointed out in the previous broadcast, my spell check program recognizes Goyim and the word Goy, G-O-Y. Anyway, we shall destroy among the Goyim the importance of the family. Boy, was that ever fulfilled. And its educational value. Most people don't think it has any educational value except the homeschoolers. And remove the possibility of individual minds splitting off. For the mob, handled by us, will not let them come to the front, nor even give them a hearing. I'm going to stop there. How is the mob handled by them? I'd submit that the mob is quite easily handled by the media. Now, how many Americans back in 1900, let's say, would have believed that their own grandchildren would embrace today's dysfunctional family wreckage as being normal? Government schools have replaced home education, which is now being somewhat reversed by the homeschool movement. And then behold, the Glenn Beck, Bill O'Reilly type nasty assaults that are leveled against those individual minds that dare to split off from mainstream political correctness of groupthink. Let's move on. Protocol number 14, page 41. In countries known as progressive and enlightened, we have created a senseless, filthy, abominable literature. Well, you got to admit, they sure know how to prey on our weaknesses, don't they? These few excerpts should verify, at least for some of us, what Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the famous Russian dissident, said about the protocols, that they were written by the mind of a genius. Now, he didn't insert the word evil genius, but I think that's what he was talking about. So now, let's return to the Truth in Money book. We're going to go to Appendix 3 in their book at page 237 of my third edition, which lists 18 foundation stones of a legislative proposal by Thorne and Warner for what they call a Treasury credit money system. Boy, that's quite a mouthful. A Treasury credit money system. I'll read each of their 18 principles in quick succession to give you an overview as to a centrally planned, highly regulated economic system, which these two authors and so many others have devised for your political and economic well-being, and what they are all going to insist will be a free society. After which, we'll look for the ultimate authority upon which their authoritative sounding 18 maxims have been posited. Now, as I read through these 18 principles of monetary science, which have so captivated the populists and Marxists of today, you might want to ask yourself if these maxims will lead us back, like the word repentance, turning back, toward decentralized economic and political power, decentralized economic and political planning, rooted in what used to be called self-government, or whether these proposals will further propel us in the direction that we've been going for the last 100 or more years, toward more centralized economic and political power, rooted in more external government. I think it's going to be easy to determine from some of the key words that they use in their legislative proposal. We're going to be turning to Truth in Money, page 237. And I can see that I'm not going to have much time here, but this is entitled Foundation Stones of the Treasury Credit Money System. Number 1, money is a public utility rightly creatable through law alone. Now, law implies force. 2, monetary authority is the exclusive power to create and destroy money. Welcome back to this half of Datum Line, Economic Myths and the Science of Deceit, Part 4. Okay? And we're up to Part 3, or number 3, of an 18-point foundation stones of the Treasury Credit Money System proposed by Mr. Thorne and Mr. Warner. I realize this book was written back in 1989. It's not the most up-to-date, but what you find presented by Mr. Zarlenga, Bill Still, Ellen Brown, and so many others is basically a rehash of the same program. And it's bad enough that we've got so many adversaries out there, adversaries to Christianity as a whole. You see that at every turn. But we have people within our own midst who are avidly promoting the fifth plank of the Communist Manifesto. And I'll tell you what, the Founding Fathers of America did not have communism in mind when they wrote that document. But nevertheless, let's go to point number 3 of these foundation stones of Mr. Warren and Mr. Thorne, Appendix 3, page 237. Monetary authority is the supreme power in civil government because money commands resources. 4, the attainment and maintenance of free enterprise depend upon monetary authority resting entirely within the structure of the sovereign government and never within independent private institutions. 5, money can have no value of itself, but serves as a valid and indispensable representation of whatever development and productive capabilities exist in the economy. 6, money is sought after and made universally acceptable in exchange for goods and services through legal tender laws requiring its use for the payment of debts and taxes. 7, money serves its primary purpose as a universally acceptable medium of exchange in the processes of stimulating economic development and maintaining production, distribution, and exchange. 8, money need not be made of any precious material. 9, the only forms of money needed to fulfill its primary purpose are bank, checkbook, credit. Currency, they mean United States notes, which won't be promissory, by the way, because you'll see that in just a moment. And coin. Now, that means copper, nickel, the type of junk that we have today. Number 10, the quantity of money I haven't even seen any money yet mentioned, have you? The quantity of money needed for a healthy economy is simply enough money to supply the demand for whatever public service and private enterprise capabilities exist in the economy. Gee, with the mindset we've got in America today, whatever public service the public might want, I can only imagine. In fact, in the Zarlinga bill that was proposed by, or I should say sponsored by Dennis Kucinich, Mr. Zarlinga tells his audiences that all the money needed for whatever government programs that there are that you want, which includes universal health care, is already provided in the bill. Well, I've gone through the bill, page by page. I couldn't find any money there. Because they're not going to use any. It's quite a system. Anyway, number 11. All the money needed for a healthy economy must be made available continuously by the monetary authority. 12. The quality of money lies exclusively in its stability in relation to the value of goods and services. 13. A shortage of money depresses economic activity, causing chronic unemployment and bankruptcies. 14. A sovereign government exercising its monetary authority creates money and spends it into circulation simply by writing good checks against no funds to pay for authorized national expenditures. 15. A sovereign government exercising its monetary authority creates money and lends it into circulation by extending monetary credit to the private sector at an affordable interest rate. 16. When money is repaid to the treasury of a sovereign government exercising its monetary authority, the money is thereby removed from circulation. 17. The key to stability in the quality or value of money lies simply in maintaining a balance between the flow of Treasury expenditures being issued into circulation, debt-free, and the flow of interest and tax collections from the private sector back to the Treasury and out of circulation. 18. The only purpose of federal taxation, and they highlight that word, the only purpose of federal taxation is to enable the Treasury to maintain a balance between the flows of Treasury expenditures and monetary revenues without exceeding an affordable maximum interest rate. Now, they go on to summarize this program. Here are their words. Each of these 18 simple statements is a foundation stone for the design of the inflation-proof, depression-proof Treasury credit money system. The publication of these points constitutes a phenomenal breakthrough. I'm modest, aren't they? A phenomenal breakthrough in understanding the scientific framework for economic progress. End quote. So focused are these engineers in this balancing act of central economic planning that they totally ignore the conflict that they create by way of this monopoly that wars against free enterprise and personal liberty. Well, let's look at these one by one. Money, they say, is a public utility rightly creatable through law alone. Where does it say that? I don't see that in my Bible, and I don't see that in the Constitution. Now let's take their definition of money. I had to go to their glossary of terms to see what they think money is. They say money is anything which is universally acceptable in payment of debts and taxes. That's their definition from page 296. Now, I look for a definition of payment, and there isn't one offered. But it does beg a question, this definition of money. What thing are they suggesting we use as money, and which will be measured in dollars? The answer? No thing. Which is why you don't hear words that describe tangible things like gold or silver. How on earth can you have a monetary system that's based on nothing used as money? Now, I got another question. What is a public utility? because they say that money is a public utility.